So, but in a case where, I mean, the funds are not enough, I mean, we know that there's been a budget, it's been released. INEC is saying, hey, we have the funds and what have you, but, you know, with the recent incident that we're having, the attacks on facilities and the offices across it would definitely mean that there's need for us to have, you know, a replacement. And the next question would be, in case, you know, we're not able to meet all of that need, what's the implication? What does that mean? And do we also have enough time? Does INEC have enough time, you know, to replace all that has been taken? What's the implication for the elections in 2023?
What it is, like the implications are that one, it is going to disenfranchise quite a number of people in the affected areas. Secondly, I think it will have psychological effect on voters and INEC and the country at large. So I don't think these things could mar the whole election unless it goes out of hand. The areas that are affected legally, I think even though they are disenfranchised and so on, I don't think the number will be enough in such a way that it will call for the postponement of the elections, because that will be the most dangerous thing for us to do if we say we are going to postpone the elections, even if the challenges are there. Because, you know, by our constitution, by 29th of May, there has to be a new government. And the Electoral Act actually states how long it will take, about 150 days before the new government, you must have election. So I think probably we are not hoping. If this thing continue, maybe the election will have to must continue, and then the affected areas, then they find within the laws what is to be done. If, for example, the affected areas vote is such that it will make a difference in terms of the winner and loser, meaning it is a significant percentage, then perhaps they will organize something in the area within the ambit of the law. But what I'm saying, basically, these are serious implications, and the only way out of it is to face it squarely. Like if it were offices, INEC should, you know, expedite action, get, you know, temporary places like rent places for it to have its own offices. And then other materials, I think, where you have like the machineries and things that are affected, if they can be replaced quickly before the time, or if they cannot, then in nearby areas where you have, let's say, extra, you can mobilize the gadgets there, even though it will raise some questions. But I think that I get a feeling that INEC might have a certain contingency plan to foresee that similar situation. So they are in a better position to see how they will mobilize resources and personnel in such a way that the elections have not been crippled in the areas affected.
All right. I'll come back to you, Mr. Lebarindu. As Prophet said, INEC may have, you know, contingency plans. He's also talked about the effect and the impact of these attacks on the forthcoming elections, and even on any cash crunch on the forthcoming elections. Mr. Ndu, if you can hear me, can you hear me, Mr. Ndu?
Yeah, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah. In terms of equipment and facilities, what exactly is the effect, the impact? Are we seeing these attacks, damage, uncollected permanent voter cards? Does INEC have machines like BVAS machines and others that have been destroyed? Maybe you have ballot papers and all that. What exactly has been affected by the over 50 attacks, like INEC has said, in recent time?
Thank you very much. As I speak with you this morning, if the election is to go on 2 hours from now, INEC is ready with the sensitive materials. None of the sensitive materials have been destroyed. What has been touched, especially in Ogun and part of Imo State, are the permanent voters card. And like the chairman said, once we get these VIN numbers of these permanent voters card, they will be printed in 3-4 days. Nobody will be disenfranchised by the fact that these voters cards have been destroyed or stolen. What the chairman and the commission is saying is, if the attacks are not stopped and they continue, it will hamper all the plans, policies, processes that the commission has put in place. However, like the prof said, INEC has its own contingency plans, and that's why I am confident and I can speak that the election will go on as the chairman has said earlier on. We are ready, we are prepared, but what the chairman said is that these attacks needs to be stopped by the security agencies in collaboration with Nigerians, because if it doesn't stop, it might affect the smooth conduct of the elections. Don't forget that most of the materials that are destroyed will need to be replaced. Most of the buildings will need to be replaced. Or in the alternative, we will hire other buildings that may be suitable for the conduct of the elections.
All right. Before we go over to Prof, Mr. Lebaranu, for those cards that have been damaged in the aforementioned states, will INEC consider an extension of the collection period? That's number one. Number two, some are trying to find out, because speculation out there that INEC has said, even without your card you can vote, provided you have, I don't know what you have, but even without your card you can vote.
No.
How true is that?
It's not true. That statement didn't emanate from INEC. INEC will not say that. It is those who do not want a credible election that say that. INEC has made it very clear that no more incident forms. You either come, and if your biometrics do not show, at least your facial will show up. The only reason why you cannot vote is if you forgot your face at home while coming to the polling unit. And we know there's no way you can forget your face and come to the polling unit. INEC has also made it very clear that we are not using any other thing other than beavers. All the information you need is there. You will be accredited and you vote. And once the voting is over, results will be uploaded to the INEC IREF, where you can just clock in and see what is being done and see the results. It is Operation Win Your Unit. You cannot change the result on the road reward collation center. That era is gone and gone for good. There is no question of voting without their permanent voters card. It is either you have your permanent voters card or you do not vote. Nobody can use another person's permanent voters card to vote. INEC have said it, and that it is a criminal offense to be in possession of a card that is not your own. So INEC is ready.
Okay. What about, quickly please, the extension of time for collection of permanent voter cards in affected states?
Of course, it does not, it belies the fact that once those cards are printed, every Nigerian will be given the right to collect and ensure that they are not disenfranchised. That's part of INEC's duty. For those areas where these cards are destroyed and reprinted, of course, they will be given every opportunity like those whose cards were not destroyed. That's the position.
Well, let's get back to Professor Sani just as we coast this conversation down. Professor Sani, are you with us?
Yes.
All right. Away from, apart from the fact that we have the divergent view between the president or the government, on the other hand, with INEC in terms of, funding the elections as a result of, the impact of security. Are there other issues that, we should look out for? Are there other factors that might likely, hamper or affect the free conduct of the elections in 2023?
I don't want to answer. I think it's more than a question.
Yeah, I think the major one is the one we are discussing now. That is the wave of attacks on INEC facilities, which will be a source of concern because so far I think from INEC position, within the space of how many years they have been attacked, their offices in various places about 8 times. So I think this should be the major source of concern in terms of improving the security of the nation in general, so that at least there wouldn't be copycats of what is happening now. Because I'm sure many people who will want to, there are many people outside there who will want to copy what is going on. So I think that will be a major source of concern. And the other thing is, as we give attention to, or we pay attention to this issue of attacks, we should also pay attention to the way the politicians are conducting the campaigns, because they too major threats, because the way we see it, there are so much, violence around in terms of, how the campaigns goes on, because so many people in so many places, it may not be a national news, but we have people being attacked in the place, meaning using thugs, and all sort of speeches, and that is one of the another thing that we should be concerned with.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time, and it's been a thrill having you on the program tonight, this morning rather. Very interesting analysis from you. Professor Kamilu Sani Fage is a political scientist and, of course, a professor with the Bayero University, Kano. Thank you very much for your time, Prof.
Thank you.
And Lerabari Samson Undu is the Director of Security at the INEC headquarters in Abuja. Mr. Samson Undu, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
All right, and we'll take a break. When we come back, we have more discussions ahead on The Breakfast. Please stay with us.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye. Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Event is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. No question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing this.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity. No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to PlusTvAfrica every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and,
yourself. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Niger, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
What we see and envy in other countries, we don't pay enough attention to how it is done. So for example, people are always talking about, oh, we should tell African stories. I smile.
I'm one of those who says that.
I think that we should talk to ourselves first before we're even worried about what people are thinking about us. We overvalue the opinion of other people. We don't value ourselves. We don't value our people.
But isn't that why we should tell our own story?
To ourselves.
Yes, first.
You understand?
Yes.
So we won't be talking about telling African story because we didn't wake up this morning and think first and foremost I'm African. I think I'm Nigerian.
That's what I'm
you
saying.
Understand? So in Nigeria,
yes,
first and foremost, we need to talk to ourselves. How do we talk to ourselves? What do we say to ourselves?
What's our reality?
So what does reality mean?
Reality.
And what lens are we looking at reality from?
Welcome to The Advocate, your Sunday reminder that important conversations are among the necessary tools for a saner society.
Go to some few police stations across Nigeria. You will see what you see there is an eyesore. You cannot even have a good record system that takes data.
There's a further problem of lack of coordination between federal and state governments in Nigeria.
And local governments.
And local governments. For instance, although local education is an issue.
You see what's going on now. ASU insisting that the government should pay them for the month they were not in class. And of course, they shouldn't have even gone to strike in the first place if the government had listened to them initially.
When you hear of drug abuse, what comes to your mind?
When we say drug abuse, it seems like something that is so distant, but it's happening every day in our homes.
1 in every 4 persons has mental illness.
Regardless of your notion of what drug abuse is, you are sure to get the right meaning here. Welcome to Regardless, an anti-drug abuse television show put together by Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry.
Regardless, the anti-drug abuse show, airing on PlusTvAfrica every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam, you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, PlusTvAfrica, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
We're back with The Breakfast in PlusTvAfrica. Let's quickly talk about, the finance sector. The Central Bank of Nigeria, that's the CBN, said that the fresh cash withdrawal limits recently announced would lead to a further drop in incidents of electronic payments, that's e-payment fraud in the country. Well, the argument is that cyber criminals, after hacking bank customers' accounts, usually go to automated teller machines, the ATMs, at unholy hour to withdraw stolen funds, stating that the implementation of the new cash withdrawal limits will deter such fraudsters and fraudulent activities. In its bid to ensure successful implementation of its Naira redesign policy, which is aimed at replacing current 200, 500 and 1,000 naira denomination with the newly designed ones. The CBN had said, which it said on December the 6th, announced that the maximum cash withdrawal over the counter by individuals and corporate organizations per week, with effect from January the 9th, 2023, will be 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira respectively, stating that withdrawals above this limit will attract processing fees of 5% and 10% respectively. Well, there are also reports that says that the incident of fraud in payment system declined by 30% to 35 in 2022 as a result of the various incentives and systems that the Central Bank of Nigeria has put in place to checkmate fraudsters. The Apex Bank also expects that the new cash withdrawal limit will push more members of the public to embrace e-payment, a development, he said, would tame cyber criminals to want to target more victims. Well, that's it. Let's have our guest join us this morning. Mukhtar Mohammed, he's a financial analyst who joins us right here in Lagos via Zoom. Mukhtar, it's good to have you join us. Compliment of the season.
Compliment of the season. Actually joining you from Kaduna today, not from Lagos.
Oh, well, that's fine. It's good to know. So quickly, do you agree with the the thoughts of the Central Bank of Nigeria that this would actually help to reduce cyber crime and criminal activities?
So I agree with that. I know in your last program, I think I talked about that. I think that's the only beauty about the policy, especially with the POS terminals, because nobody's looking at that. Everybody's just looking at the business type of it. They are not looking at the fraudulent type of it. Like the CBN said, and it's happened to a lot of people that I know, when these fraudulent activities are committed through the bank, they are withdrawn through the POS terminal, not just the ATM, especially the POS terminal. I think for me, it's just one of the good decisions that they took as regards the security. But then I still have my fears in terms of other issues. But for the fraudulent activity, I think definitely it might help. But that does not mean that everybody that goes to withdraw the money during the POS test withdraw it during an holy hour. They need to come up with strategy like what they are planning to do. If you have to withdraw above a certain limit, I think they should put those conditions for them to meet.
All right, Mukhtar, what sort of fraudulent transactions is the Central Bank of Nigeria referring to? I mean, because we have a lot of fraudulent transactions. Are we just talking about e-fraud alone? Are we talking about other forms of fraudulent activities that you think this new cash withdrawal limit policy will affect? What are we looking at here?
Yes, I didn't get that question. I think the network is.
Right. Apologies for that. Yes. So when the Central Bank of Nigeria says that a cash withdrawal policy, limit policy, will curb fraud, electronic fraud, what are we looking at here? Because we know about.
I think for me, when they say
Yahoo, is it hush puppy style?
People have criticized it.
So come again, Mukhtar. Sorry about that.
Yeah, just trying to give other advantage, they think of the cash withdrawal policy. For me, because people have criticized this withdrawal policy, it's part of the advantage, but it's not all about it. Because it's not that fraudulent activities will not happen. So what the CBN should always know is that the fraudsters are always trying to go, when they come out with policy, they try to do something to beat it up. Just like we heard this morning that there has been counterfeit 1,000 naira notes. Just not even up to a week after the redesigning note comes out. And this was what the CBN told us this was about to achieve, to make sure that they are not able to counterfeit most of these notes. So definitely it will help, but that doesn't mean the CBN should just put it at that, because the fraudsters are also working to improve on their own technology to beat what the CBN has.
Because I'm thinking, is it wire fraud? I don't know. Is it the style, the hush puppy style fraud? Is it Yahoo, or what? I don't know. But anyway, what comes to mind is mostly maybe money laundering is what I would have thought the CBN would have looked at more. So you're saying that criminals, in terms of the e-fraud, will find a way around this. And you've talked about, for instance, what we've seen this morning and over the weekend Naira notes, 1,000 Naira, so, being counterfeited. We hear that POS operators are still adamant, that this is going to affect them negatively. Some would say, well, we should do a cost-benefit analysis, that the benefit of this outweigh the cost, of losing some jobs and all that. The CBN has said that they have nothing to fear, but they're still crying. I mean, in today's papers on the front pages, we had at least one paper giving coverage to that. So what do you say to this side of the argument, which the CBN probably is trying to justify by looking at the benefits? What do you say to that side of the argument about the loss of jobs?
I think that side of the argument is still okay, but we need to also look at the larger picture, because the POS terminals also have created jobs, and especially in an economy that we are now, that job creation is becoming like rocket science. So definitely, I think they have a point, but that does not negate the fact that the right thing has to do, because when you are talking about fraudulent activities, your report just told us that CBN said they were able to reduce it by 22%. Even with that, there are a lot of fraudulent activities. And moreover, most of the people that are affected by these fraudulent activities for POS are mostly those vulnerable Nigerians, those that are in the rural area. So the CBN has to do everything to protect those people, because they are definitely the poor of the poor. So as the POS operators, I thought what they should be discussing with the CBN is how they can improve security, how they can come up with strategy to reduce these challenges that they normally have. So for me, I don't think it's just all about the job, all about the threat, but they need to look at the larger picture. How can we improve our services? Because in Nigeria, we just think of profit. We don't think about services, and we don't think about security. I think the CBN is looking at the services they are going to render and the security of people's funds, and that's part of the responsibility that has been put upon for the CBN. So for me, I think we look at that, but again, we need to improve the security, and the POS terminals operators should be looking at talking to the CBN on how to improve security. After all, it was the CBN that came up with the idea of having a POS terminal, especially in the rural area, for financial inclusion.
So apart from electronic fraud that has been stated by the Central Bank of Nigeria, let's also look at, the issue of kidnappers. I mean, we know that seemed to be a lucrative business in Nigeria, where ransom has been asked for. Do you also think that this tackles the issue of, kidnapping and looting by government officials?
Looting by government officials, I don't know how that will work, but I mean, it might work, because government officials would definitely want to use one or two cronies to get those deals. I think that is where the banks, as amidst, we have been told to report any transaction at above a limit is there in the Money Laundering Act. So I think that should still be handled by the bank. The other aspect of the kidnappers, I'm actually in the northeast, like I said, and in Kaduna, to be precise, and I see the joy that the citizens, the people of Kaduna are having with this, that is going to reduce the amount of kidnapping and banditry that has been happening around here, because most of this banditry money is given to them in cash, and they even said that most of those bandits are even now they are in a panic mood, because some of them still have this liquidity in high amounts. They don't know how to bring it back to exchange it for the new Naira note. So definitely it's going to help security. I have to say that initially when the CBN came with this policy, I said it that the policy is both an economy and security policy. So definitely it's going to help, especially knowing fully well that kidnappers normally done their transaction by cash. But again, that puts the victims at risk, because it's now in the heart of the victim to want to meet the demands of the kidnappers. So I think it's not a win-win situation as it is now, because the victim family will want to look for every available means to get their people out of the kidnappers down. And the CBN and the security agencies will want to protect. So definitely it's not going to be a win-win situation unless the security apparatus are up to their game, using that as a means of arresting the kidnappers, telling you, okay, we give you this fund, but we have to know how this fund is going to move. We are going to position our people so that when they come to collect it, we'll be able to strike. It's not going to be just the CBN. The security people also have to up their game.
All right. The CBN have said that they experienced a 35% decline in electronic fraud, as they increased cashless transactions in the country. But, I mean, like you said, if these guys want to make their money, they wouldn't mind looking for new ways to defraud people. The CBN is also saying that most of these people who commit fraud online withdraw the monies from ATMs between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. to draw a whole lot of money. So if they place this limit, it will be hard for them to withdraw. But I mean,
can't they go the next day?
They would look for another way to take the money. That's why I was asking you, because I mean, some of these things you hear from these officials, you wonder what exactly they're driving at. But Mukhtar, thank you very much.
Even in Lagos. Even in Lagos, there came a point that one chance people were using POS to rob people. Even the security apparatus, some of the people that reported security apparatus leading them to ATM machine to withdraw money to give to them. So definitely it's all about both security and economy. They need to come together and find a way.
But if I commit fraud online and I want to withdraw the money and I realize I can't withdraw, I mean, won't I find other ways to keep the money in an account?
The only way that you cannot withdraw the money is if the person that is involved has reported the matter to the bank and the bank blocked that account. As long as that account is not blocked, you find a way to even transfer it to another account. Remember that some of the issues the EFCC have tackled is multiple transfer. You transfer from A to B, B to C, C to D, and those transfers just keep moving from one account to the other.
I can just go into a supermarket and buy everything. take
the
goods outside, go and sell them on the black market.
So the thing is, if we further look at this, ideology and argument that's been put out, you would say because you have defrauded someone of so much, let's say it's 1 million naira, and then you can't take out 1 million instantly from the ATM or the POS. But you also have the option of, making transfers. I really don't know if there's a lot of limit or if there's, limit on how much you can transfer depending on the kind of accounts that you're operating. But also stop this, fraudsters from taking time. It could also just be, let's take it easy and spread this money in different times. So I just take my time and withdraw it within a week and I get the money. Or maybe 2 weeks.
In developed economy in the world, when I do a transaction, no matter how much transaction I do, it stays in my account for like a day or two before it's transferred to the individual account because of fraudulent activity. So if after a day or two there's no complaint, then it will be transferred. I think what we need to do in this case is that the cash withdrawal limit will reduce that. But again, it has to be the account owner complaining to the bank. And sometimes the bank will not tell you that you need to get a police report. And in the process of going through all this bureaucracy, the scammers are through the attacks because I have issues like that.
All right. Mukhtar, thank you very much. I wonder if the policemen who follow Nigerians to ATM to force them at gunpoint to withdraw monies and pay them bribes on the road, it will deter them. I'm sure it will still continue. It will still continue. Mukhtar, thank you very much for your time. He joins us live via Zoom from Kaduna. Appreciate your time, Mukhtar Mohammed, financial analyst.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate your time. It was once a policeman, I did a wrong, I didn't see him saying stop at traffic, in front of my one police station, notorious in Port Harcourt. So I drove. I was naive at the time I was doing the CTD. Forced me to pay money from ATM.
But why didn't you refuse?
Oh, then I was much younger. We have to go. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Kofi Bartels.
And I am Messi Boko. It's fine to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica, PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. Have a fantastic day.
Hello, Lagos. Let's talk. I can't even ask you how you're doing. We're all here. We all know the truth. We're not doing too well. Every time we think we have seen the worst, somehow, the ones we handed our dear state will always find a way to outdo themselves in how bad things can get. For 23 years, They have rewarded the love of the people with so little. We are the wealthiest state in Nigeria, but let me ask you, Lagos, how wealthy do you really feel? Can you imagine another 4 years of no real solution to waking up at 4 a.m. every day because of that awful traffic across Lagos metropolis? Or 4 more years of being scared to stop at the traffic lights because of traffic robbers? I don't think we can continue with another 4 years of 2 million of our children still out of school.
Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jando as Governor of Lagos State. PDP, power to the people.
Good morning. My name is Nyamgul Agaji, and this is the news brief. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has reaffirmed its confidence in the effectiveness of the bimodal voter registration system (BVAS) ahead of the 2023 elections. The INEC National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, insists that politicians buying permanent voter cards (PVCs) to manipulate the 2023 general elections are wasting their time. The INEC official charged security agencies to track down and prosecute politicians manipulating the PVCs in any part of the country. The resident electoral commissioner of INEC in Osun State, Mutiu Agboke, has assured Nigerians that the 2023 general elections will be conducted despite attacks on its facilities. He also disclosed that security has been beefed up at the Commission's offices across the state to ensure both sensitive and non-sensitive materials are secured. He spoke during a sensitization rally organized by the Commission in collaboration with a non-governmental organization, Power of PVCs, for residents of Oshogbo ahead of the 2023 polls. The REG said the deployment of bimodal voter accreditation system and the results viewing portal for voters' accreditation and uploading of polling unit results in real time have come to stay.
I believe
those areas that we have 1 cases is something they can easily capture. But this Imo State, Osun State, Akwa Ibom, we need to look at this area critically. I'm talking directly to the security forces now. That there's a need to pay more attention and deploy military and the police and other forces to this area.
You say that the security agents are overstretched. I have said so. And then I also appeal to communities and traditional and religious leaders and others to see INEC facilities as national assets, and they should all contribute towards protecting these facilities instead of leaving this to the security agencies alone.
The European Union, EU, says it will support Nigeria in achieving free, fair and credible elections in 2023. The EU ambassador to Nigeria, Samuela Isopi, stated this during a courtesy visit to the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, at the Government House in Benin City. Isopi described Nigeria as very important to the EU and its global neighbors. She noted that the EU had supported INEC and other stakeholders by providing technical assistance as well as expertise.
Today it's 70 days ahead of elections, so we also try to use the opportunity of our visits to the states in Nigeria to engage with political actors and to discuss issues related to elections. And the reason is very simple. The European Union has been supporting election processes in Nigeria since the return to the civilian rule. We have consistently deployed election observation missions, and we will do the same thing for the next upcoming elections. But we also have consistently supported INEC and other stakeholders by providing technical support, expertise, technical assistance, and this is what we are also doing right now. And I said that good elections in Nigeria, which means peaceful elections, free and fair elections, transparent elections, are not only in the interest of Nigerians and Nigeria. They are also in the interest of Europe. We are your main neighbor. We have an interest in having a strong, democratic, stable Nigeria, and that's why we have supported Nigerian democracy, and we will continue to do so.
And as you know, the EU has always supported the electionary process. They give a lot of, they send missions here to observe elections, and they have studies and reports they've done over the years on the conduct of all the elections, at least since this republic. And gleaning from those reports, they've come to check, to also see and advise the areas and what we can do to make sure that we have properly conducted, transparent, fair, and safe elections this time around. So, you know, they've come in a true spirit of partnership to come and see how we can work together, how we can support our efforts, not only at the political level, the cultural level, issues of economy, but to just ensure that we continue to strengthen the relationship between, not just Nigeria and the EU, but also subnationals within Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated his determination to ensure the conduct of free, fair and transparent elections in 2023. According to the president's aide, Garba Shehu, the president made this position known in Washington, D.C., USA, at an interactive session. The president said he has made INEC very ready with enough resources they requested, so there are no excuses. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to Nigeria from Washington, D.C., where he participated in the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit. The president's arrival comes hours after making his 80th birthday his 80th birthday on Saturday evening. The summit, which held from December 13 to 15, 2022 in Washington, D.C., highlighted the U.S. commitment to expanding and deepening partnerships with Africa countries, institutions and people. Last Sunday, the Nigerian leader arrived in the U.S. for the summit. He thereafter joined other African leaders for the event aimed at rebooting United States relations in the continent in Washington, D.C. Former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Dr. Olisa Agbakoba, has lambasted the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission over what he described as unwarranted media trial of the Kogi state government as regards a fresh case against a nephew of the governor and the previous 20 billion naira bailout controversy. Agbakoba specifically noted that EFCC was turning itself into a one-man Robin Hood riot gang, which must not be allowed. Agbakoba made this opinion known just as he called on all the 18 candidates contesting in next year's presidential election to clearly state their commitments to the rule of law and the war against corruption.
It's the EFCC's job to phone the MD of a bank and say, you know what, we want Olisa Agbakoba's account to be PND'd. And we demand that you give us the statement of Kogi State. Okay, if it's their business, is it their lawful duty to make that inquiry? There's a case, because it involves a lawyer, I won't mention his name, but I was so glad to be vindicated by the Supreme Court about 5 months ago. The Supreme Court, in a very strongly worded judgment, castigated the EFCC and said, look, you know, if you interpret your powers granted under Section 46 of the EFCC Act in the way you do, then it means that you are the sole law enforcement agency in Nigeria, but you're not. So the Supreme Court redefined the functions of the EFCC in a very narrow manner as prescribed by the Act. It is not for the EFCC to be chasing the Kogi state government and saying, you know what, we're going to cut away papers from the accountant general's office or whoever, or go to the governors, like in the case of Ojikalu. The EFCC actually went to the government house, in spite of the fact that the governor has, immunity, and carried away the government cashier. And this is not to say that we therefore condone corruption.
Suspected hoodlums have raised a section of the Owerri Magistrate Court in Imo State. This is coming barely 24 hours after the Olu High Court was burnt by fleeing hoodlums. The suspects came with explosives and targeted a section of the roof of the facility. While the extent of the damage caused by the arson had not been ascertained by our correspondent, it was learned that sensitive court materials and documents, including files, were burnt. When contacted, the police spokesman for the State Command, Michael Abatam, confirmed the incident and disclosed that the fire had been put out. Suspected herdsmen have killed at least 3 persons, including or during an attack on Adaka community in Benue State. Adaka is a settlement about 20 kilometers on the outskirts of Makurdi local government area of Benue State. Special advisor of the Benue governor, or to the Benue governor on media and publicity, Teve Akase, said the attack occurred on Saturday. A resident of the community who survived the incident, Eakohol Onade, said the attack was unprovoked, adding that the attackers shot sporadically, injuring several persons in the community. Meanwhile, a yet-to-be ascertained number of people have been reportedly killed in the troubled Ebo Ehamufu community in Isuzo local government area of Enugu State by armed herdsmen and their collaborators. Security forces told correspondents that the invaders, who outnumbered the soldiers and local vigilantes, launched the attack early Sunday morning, adding that several people were killed. A community leader who gave his name as Ugwabo Samuel confirmed the attack, blaming the local government chairman, whom he described as playing politics with the lives of Ehamufu people because of the 2023 general elections. After spending 6 months in the den of kidnappers, 7 Chinese nationals kidnapped in Ajata Aboki Shiroro local government area of Niger State in June have been rescued by the Nigerian Air Force. In a statement signed by the Commissioner for Internal Security and Humanitarian Affairs, Emmanuel Umar, the Niger State government lauded the release of the kidnapped victims. The kidnappers of the Chinese nationals had killed 37 security personnel in the process of executing the kidnap at the mining site. During the kidnap, the bandits attacked the mining site and opened fire on the workers and security operatives, killing both security operatives and civilians. We move now to Osun State, where the government says the withdrawal of officers of the Department of State Services DSS from the governor's security detail followed a minor disagreement. A statement by a group, Osun Shall Rise Again had claimed that the DSS officers were withdrawn following repeated insults hurled at them by Ademola Adeleke, governor of Osun State. The social-political group had also said Adeleke will personally appear at the DSS headquarters in Abuja over the matter. However, according to a statement on Sunday by Olawale Rashid, Adeleke's spokesperson, the DSS officers were withdrawn following a minor disagreement with the police team. Rashid said the issue has been reported to the headquarters of the two security agencies. Friends and family of the late Samuel Okposo have converged on the Love of God Church in Christ, Lekki, for the outing service of the late gospel singer. Sammy's wife, Ozioma, and some of his friends, including Segun Arinze, Kingsley Ogoro, and Agatha Amata, were present. Our correspondent, Paul George, was there.
At the Logic Church, Lekki, the celebration of the life of the late singer coincides with a Thanksgiving service. Friends and family danced to praise ministration by the choir. The presiding pastor, Flourish Peters, says Sammy's songs will continue to minister to people until the next generation. He encourages Ozioma, the wife of the deceased, to be thankful and rejoice for her late husband has gone to be with the Lord.
The only way an anti-Ozi can give thanks, you know why? Because we have not lost Uncle Sammy in glory, we've gained him in glory. Why? Because that's the product of the finished work. The product of the finished work. So you're not confused where he is. Father, anywhere he is. No ways anywhere he is. We know where he is. Absent in the Lord is present with the Lord. Absent in the body, rather, is present with the Lord.
I'm indebted to making sure that memory, that his songs have been sung, given to the fourth or fifth generation.
Media mogul Agatha Amata recalls moments when the late maestro wrote her program's theme song, Inside Out. She recalls the speed with which Sammy composed the song.
My relationship with Sammy is, well over 20, almost 30 years old. A lot of people might not realize that my program, Inside Out with Agatha, the theme song was done by Sammy. Inside Out, welcome to Inside Out. He did that song in 3 hours. We were in the studio. I can still see him like it was yesterday. And I was telling him what I wanted to do, a talk show and everything. And as I was talking, he was just on the keyboard. And in 3 hours, we had the theme song for Inside Out, which became like a household song. He was in a hurry. When I look back with the benefit of hindsight, what Sammy has achieved, people 100 years old can't get near it. Still difficult to process, but Sammy lives on.
His friend of about 40 years, Martins Ogbevo, ministers some of his popular songs as the congregation is moved to dancing. Renowned actor Segun Arinze says his consolation is his belief that Sammy lives on. He speaks alongside others.
He came, achieved. There are quite a number of people who came and haven't achieved. There are people who are older who haven't even gotten to that level, but we thank God for his life and we'll continue to celebrate him. Be strong and continue to pray and believe in God.
Sammy has done everything that he could to change what music is, both in the church and globally. He's a pioneer, he's a legend, he's an achiever, he's a barrier breaker. Well, how many will I say? So, we're not really mourning, but we miss him because we can never have another Sammy. No, never.
Sammy has been my childhood friend from 1984 till when he went away. All right, he went to be with the Lord. I was his manager, I was his errand boy, I was his PA, I was his cook, I was his watch, I washed his clothes, I washed his car. I was everything to Sammy Okposo. He was my great friend. And I extended it to my children, and I know I'm going to see you again when we get over there.
Prayers are offered as family and friends take to the pulpit. Paul George, Plus TV News.
May the legend rest on. Nigerians bemoan the new cash withdrawal limit set by the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's on Street Views. Take a listen.
Currency policy
by CBN is something I find quite funny. The very first time I saw that thing, I was like, these people they are trying to manipulate and they're trying to manipulate and dictate how we live our life. You understand? So it's not a very good idea. Okay, what if I have a business? I want to make a transaction in a business that will earn me more profits, and at that very moment, I need something. I need a capital more than the desired whatever policy that they have made. So it's not a very good idea. Where do you want me to get the other fund to actualize my profits?
It can happen because assuming someone goes to the hospital and has a bill of 40,000, 35,000 to pay, it can happen. There is no way this can happen. How can he withdraw 30,000 in a day and pay the bill? How? When you have a maximum of 20,000 to withdraw, someone has a surgery that has to take a surgery and has to pay 1.5 million and has to pay for that 1.5 million, has to deposit maybe 500 or a million on the spot. How can he do it? They should review the policy.
You mean we can only withdraw 20,000 per day? Okay, what about people that are doing that are in the markets? We want to go and buy stuff now. Okay, we want to buy stuff for your baby. Let me say, for example, now someone that just deliver or about to deliver. Definitely, you want to withdraw more on ATM. She now said then that the response she gave me is that they would now do transfer. So I was not like, okay, so who will now sit down inside the market and be expecting transfer to come in? And don't you know that sometimes network is not always okay? So meaning that I want to buy stuff 20,000, I have to transfer to how many people am I going to do that to?
If I have a 500,000 in my account and someone give me, I wanted to do a job and I need to transfer some money to my colleague. Maybe they just want to follow me to work. Like yesterday night, I did some transaction, 250,000 and 270. And this morning, another 150,000 transaction. How you tell me that I have 20,000 limit? No, it's not making sense.
We move now to other parts of Africa. The Tunisian Electoral Authority has announced that the turnout for Saturday's parliamentary election stood at only 8.8%. Despite a low turnout, the lowest in any poll since the revolution in 2011, the president of the Electoral Authority described the process as clean due to the lack of political financing and vote buying. Opposition groups boycotted the election, describing it as part of a coup against democracy. The main opposition alliance called on the president to bring all political forces together for consultations. The election took place almost a year and a half after Said deployed military vehicles to suspend parliament following months of political deadlock. Hundreds of Liberians have gathered in a suburb of Monrovia to demonstrate against the President George Weah. Protest was organized by the opposition as the country grapples with soaring prices and shortages of basic goods. The leader of the opposition coalition, CPP, the political or potential presidential candidate, accused President Weah of failure. President Weah has been out of the country since the end of October and is expected to return officially this Sunday after 7 weeks away.
Our gathering here today will send a signal to the international community that we are tired with everything that is unfolding in our country.
The grade we're going to get President Weah an F because he has failed us as a people.
For those who are tired, suffering, and scared to be here, we are here because of you two. This is the beginning of a march to a new Liberia.
In business news, Nigeria's crude oil earnings rose by about 308.6 billion naira within 2 months following the recent increase in the country's oil output due to concerted efforts by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and security agencies to halt oil theft. Data accessed from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and other international agencies on Sunday showed that the country's oil earnings moved up between September and November this year. Figures from the NUPRC showed that while Nigeria pumped 937,766 barrels of crude oil per day in September, its output moved up to 1,014,000 76,485 barrels per day in October. This represents an increase of 76,719 barrels per day, which translates to a total of 2,378,289 barrels for the month of October. And in entertainment news, before his Avatar success, Sam Worthington was living in a financially strapped condition. The actor opened up about his struggles in a new interview with Variety. He shared that just before reading for the character of Jake Sully in director James Cameron's sci-fi blockbuster Avatar, his life looked a lot different. The outlet detailed that Worthington had auctioned off all his possessions and moved out of his studio apartment. He'd outfitted his car, a hatchback with a mattress, and had lived on the road. In sports news, Argentina star Lionel Messi on Sunday vowed to continue playing for his country despite finally realizing his lifetime ambition of winning the World Cup. But Messi admitted his career was almost finished after the Argentina captain landed the one major international trophy missing from his collection. The Paris Saint-Germain forward scored 2 goals in the stunning and chaotic final that ended 3-3 after 120 absorbing minutes before the 7-time Ballon d'Or winner netted his spot kick in the shootout that Argentina won 4-2. And after so many disappointments on the biggest stage in football, including losing the 2014 World Cup final to Germany in Brazil, Messi said he always felt his time would come. Messi has played 172 times for Argentina, scoring 98 goals since making his debut in 2005. And that's the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. You can also view us on Limex on www.limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. Many thanks for watching.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Vicky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Hello. You're welcome to Timeless Conversation. My guest today is a very well-known Nigerian. He's an international figure. He has inspired quite a lot of young Nigerians today to speak out, to be non-conformist when things are going wrong. And at the same time, he's someone who cherishes his culture, his upbringing, the societal value, and the family place. My guest is none other than the man we all call Charlie Boy, but he has the birth name of Charles Oputa.
Charles Chukwuemeka Oputa, popularly known as Charlie Boy, was born on the 19th of June 1950. He hails from Oguta in Imo State. Multi-talented Charlie is a singer, songwriter, television presenter, publisher and producer. One of Nigeria's most controversial entertainers, Charlie Boy is best known for his alternative lifestyle, political views and media productions, including the iconic Charlie Boy Show. He once served as president of the Performing Musicians Association of Nigeria, PMAN. In 2011, he was also a judge on the Nigerian Idol set.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, good to see you.
Happy to be here as usual.
Indeed, you know, since we've known each other, I'd always looked at you as someone, this man is too different. What's the difference?
How different?
Yeah, what's the
am
difference in you? There's something that
I don't know. I feel very regular and very normal.
Are we going to start to
In fact,
define
over
regular?
normal, they worry me, sir.
You want me to define regular?
I don't know. I don't see anything abnormal or different about
Okay, let's
me.
try this now.
Yeah.
Sometimes they list your birth age as 70. Another set of people will say 71.
Because I've decided not to say anything about my birthday. I
That's
don't know why
irregular.
that one is
That
an
is
issue.
That is irregular.
That is irregular.
Most people your age will talk proudly about their date of birth.
Eh.
Before we start this program now, you know what they talk now.
Waiting at the talk. Remind me.
I know we
You know, too many spirits they pass. So
no. Make one
sometimes.
spirit bow for another spirit. Yeah? Truly,
Okay.
Why don't you want to talk about your actual date of birth?
Because, you know, we get football age, we get passport age, we get spiritual age. You can assign any age to any of these different compartments or departments, you know. And because in the beginning, I don't give many dates, so I don't get confused. I know, I don't know really what it is.
But one real age that is there is what?
The real age, the last time I looked, it was 70. That was
last year.
Last year, 2020.
So 19th of June,
But
1950 led us to 70 in 2020.
That's what they said.
There you go again. That's what is coming up.
Unfortunately, my mom is late now, so we would have asked her. She would have been the only one who would have
To remind you.
specific. Yeah.
To remind you, because
To
I know she
remind
told
me.
you. I, for instance, I know that you were so close to your mom. Describe your relationship with her.
Oh, it was heavenly. You know, that was what kept me in Abuja for a long time, taking care of my parents. And I'll tell you that that is the proudest job I ever did in my life. And I'm very happy that I had the opportunity to take good care of them, shower them with love, you know, because I'm sure in the beginning they didn't even think that that was possible, that it was going to be me. Because I give those people, I give them a tough time. I show them pepper. I show them pepper now, you know, as a growing teenager, you know. But I think in a roundabout way, I hold my father responsible because he always taught us to speak up and speak out. You know.
So you got that from him?
Yeah. He will always say things. I remember some of his famous quotes, you know, anywhere you see injustice, you know, you fight it. If you don't fight it, it will come back and chop your head off. You know, things like that. We always had that in the household. We always had things like, do you know who you are? Do you really know who you are? I'm giving you this name, or don't go and spoil it. Or, you know, you have to preserve it. So after, do you know, every time, do you know who you are? Do you know? I say I know who I am. My name is Charles Chukwemeka Oputa. I live at number 11 Borokiri, Ahofia Road, Port Harcourt. He said, no, you are an Oputa. I said, so? What does being an Oputa mean?
Well, can I pose his question back to you now? Do you really know who you are?
Yeah.
Or have you found out
It's because of knowing who I am that gives me the confidence in the things that I do, and in being comfortable in my own skin, because I know who I am, I know where I'm coming from, I know where I've been to, and I know exactly what I want to do with my life. And praise the Lord, I've been doing that for the past 70 years.
70 is back.
Sure you wanna test my ride? Power back here. Sure you wanna take a ride? CB, you know me.
Now, the journey to discover yourself, to know who you are, took you out of Nigeria in your teens. And your dad wanted you to be a lawyer.
Not necessarily.
So,
He wasn't fussy about. He wasn't. He would have loved everybody, because he sees anybody, you know, they start talking law, or if you have some love for law and things like that, oh, then he made a friend in my father. But no, we were just allowed to express ourselves, you know, any which way we wanted, because that was the first freedom. To be vocal, to be curious, to ask questions. We were taught that.
Probe your environment.
Yeah, not to. We're not like the kids. Like when you have elders come over to the house, you know, you tell your kids to go to the other room. Elders are there. No, we weren't brought up like that. We were brought up to stay with elderly people, you know, and we were encouraged to be curious, to ask questions, even though we didn't know what the hell, you know, the issue were about those days. Yeah, and then from early enough, that kind of made me very comfortable with people who are much older than me.
Yeah, I read somewhere that you studied communication.
Yes, I'm a mass comm major. You know, I did mass comm, radio, TV. You know. I used to run a public relation, you know, outfit, you know. We specialized in TV program, radio program, adverts, stuff like that, the documentaries. We did a lot for state governments, federal governments, back in the days.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Now, let's relate that to your life as a performer, as an artist. Was your education helpful in putting it on track?
Yeah, it taught me how to look at things from different perspective. It taught me about being open, being my authentic self. My father raised us very well, if I must say, because early enough, it was, I always heard him say, man, know thyself. A person who has a full understanding of him or herself and knows exactly what he's been given grace to do will only find fulfillment in the things that he or she does.
That's deep.
Yes, and I think my parents set us up on that track.
Yeah. So reading mass comm was very useful to you in your engagements as a performer.
Oh, yeah.
As an
yeah,
activist.
understanding.
As an activist.
Yeah, understanding the human psyche, understanding, you know, arty people, they like to exaggerate a lot, you know. And where you know your stunts, your hypes have become effective is when people start to see you in different lights.
Yes.
Because Charlie Boy means different things to different people. It's only from where you stand. If one stands on the side of ignorance, that's all you think that whatever this brand is doing is just something weird about him. There's nothing weird about
Talking about something weird, you know, when you hit the scenes in the 80s,
yeah,
everybody was saying, he's the son of a Supreme Court Justice.
So
how can he dress like that? And you're still dressing like that at 71. Well, almost
no,
71.
I've calmed down a bit.
Calm.
Yeah.
This one is calm.
This one, they come now. You
This?
remember when my head used to be red, yellow, green, and all of that?
And you don't get hair again.
Yeah, I don't get hair again.
So
now.
it's not calm. You are toning
when I used to
differently.
wear 2 different shoes on, you know, each leg, my craze that time, computer no reach them.
You even use the word craze.
Yeah.
You have noticed that craze.
Although my mom was very understanding. My father, on the other hand, actually thought I was crazy. I say crazy because a lot of people out there too thought that the flamboyant image I built as Charlie Boy was crazy, weird, too loud, too flamboyant, not acceptable, perceived as not responsible, especially for the family image. You see, it's a different kind of craze because this craze, wait a minute, this craze is organized. It's well.
It's intentional.
It's intentional.
What was the intention about?
You know, when you have a famous father,
good.
It's like a big thing hanging over your head.
A huge umbrella.
No, not an umbrella. It becomes a burden. Like, I like to give you an example.
Yeah.
Like, what's his name? Femi Kuti.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah? Fela's son.
Yeah.
Fela was that big.
Huge.
So, can you imagine the struggle Femi at the time was going through to be
Femi?
To be Femi.
Not Fela.
To find his own identity.
Yes.
Because no matter what he will do at the time, he said, you can't be like Fela.
So there you were. There you
were.
Yeah.
I hated to live under anybody's shadow. I didn't want that.
But that man gave you covering.
Say?
Your dad, his name gave you covering. He pushed you to go get education.
No. Yeah. Yes. I mean, from that perspective, sure. He gave me all I required.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that.
And then you came back, you rebelled against all that you got. We need to say, I want you to say it.
Yes.
So why?
Yes.
Because you don't want that cover.
Why? Because you can't just call me up one morning and say, here, take a letter, go there, pack your bag, go and start work. No. I'm not going to take that from anybody. I never told anybody, I never had any discussion. Say, I'm going to go into paid employment 9 to 5. Yeah, we not discuss that. So when I got that letter one morning, that was in Owerri. I said, I know they go anywhere. That was when our fight really started. You say, why? Everybody, once they finish university, then find work. We don't find for you, you no one work. I said, I didn't have that discussion with you. Oh yeah, what do you want to do? Because I was tired of living under this shadow. I wanted to break away.
Break away.
I wanted to do my own thing.
Not break away, break out.
Break out, yeah. I wanted to do my own thing. So when it came to a head, when they asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, I want to be an entertainer. Of course, now everybody was disappointed. So that was when I decided I was going to cut the umbilical cord between me and my parents. At that time, we were in Owerri. So luckily for me, he was promoted as a Supreme Court judge. So he went to Lagos. Then me, we from America, come back. Now village I go enter. You don't see that kind of thing.
Yes, sir. You wanted to
for 7 years.
He was hitting the reset button.
Yes. Now village I go start to build the brand Charlie Boy. And for that, those were the darkest 7 years of my life.
Wow.
Because that was when I came to appreciate poverty.
Poverty?
Struggle, yes.
Why?
Why not? Because what grows in the village, really? Villages are where people go, elderly people, senior citizens go to relax and fade out. There's no prospect in the village, even though I had a recording studio.
There's rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation?
Yes.
When you are young, you're not talking about rejuvenation. You're talking about your burning ambition.
Yeah, but if somebody give you contact, you say you don't want.
Why I go want 9 to 5 now? I want to do my own thing now. Other people know they succeed when they do their own thing.
They do.
Must I
but that was all he knew.
Huh?
That was all he knew. He was offering
what
he knew.
No. Well, I don't blame him.
Okay.
You know, parents are usually, sometimes they're overbearing and they worry a lot about their children. I've learned from
That's very true.
My parents to worry less. Because look at how I turned out. I'm sure in my father's wildest dream when I was like 15, 20, he wouldn't have believed it. Because I always said, oh, you just want to throw your life away. But I knew exactly what I wanted. And I wasn't going to throw my life away. But I was going to do it my way.
So after 7 years, what happened?
After 7 years in the village, well, an angel I met in one of my rare trips to Lagos to, scout for a recording company, see who will, take my body of music. And, I met Tina Onwudiwe.
Onwudiwe, yes.
Yeah, the African Oyibo. Yes. She's late now.
Yes, she is.
And that woman did a number on me. She was the one that restored first my confidence, because 7 years in the village robbed me of my confidence. I started to have an inferiority complex. I was avoiding my friends who I thought were doing much better than I was, and I swore never, ever in those 7 years to go back to my father to say, help me out.
I was just going to ask that in those 7 years, what was your relationship like with your dad?
It was really messed up. We weren't talking. In fact, I can boldly say that I disowned my parents. It got to a point where, I couldn't really take care of my family. I was living with my present wife in the village at the time.
Yes.
So you can imagine, from America to the village, no running water, no light, nothing. So we're like stuck. But the beginning seemed all right. I just had some few gadgets and stuff. I did one emergency studio where guys would come patronize me. But after the first year or so, everything dried up. Nobody was coming again. That was when I learned how to chop bread and granite for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And it's usually very tasty.
It's very tasty, but too much cholesterol and all of that, not healthy. But that was what we could afford at the time.
At that time.
So 3 years, when me and poverty, they do face you challenge, I had to ask my wife to leave, to go back
to the US.
to the U.S. and walk and see whether she can send some little monies for us, because we just had our first baby, my last boy, you know, before she traveled. So I think my son was just about 9 months or a year.
Okay, before they both left.
Before, they didn't both leave.
Oh.
My son stayed. I was
stayed. Oh, you were
taking
taking
care
care of
of
him?
my son. Yes. I mean, they changed nappy. Now me, they cook within the boy, they chop. Yes. I didn't have a maid. I didn't have anything.
It would be okay to conclude that you're a stubborn man.
Yes. If I want something, I can die for that thing.
And you took after your dad in that stubbornness.
I think it's my mother. I got that from my
both
mother.
of them?
Oh, my mother is, you can't shut my mother up. A big winch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your wife went back to the U.S.?
Yeah, she went back. She stayed almost 4 years. I didn't see her. She was sending money. God bless that woman. So
You guys are still together, right?
We're still together now. We'll all die here.
But after 7 years, you now broke onto the national scene properly then.
Yes, thanks to Tina Onwudiwe. I'll always say you can't talk about the history of the brand Charlie Boy without mentioning that name. That was that time now I was like Mumu now. I was Tina's like pet. She noticed my self-esteem was low. She noticed I didn't have confidence. But she admired me for all the creativity at the time. And she saw in me what at that time I did not see in me. You know, because she was convinced that this was something special, this was something different, and it was going to blow. You know, I didn't see that because 7 years in the village, like I said, robbed me of, took its toll on me. I started to even feel sorry about myself. So she was the one who gave me my confidence back.
Now you got back that confidence, and it was easy for you, or wasn't it, to chart a path for yourself, to say, this is where I'm going?
Too easy.
Too easy.
Yes, too
easy. So those 7 years were necessary then?
Yeah, you have to go through, you have to go through a baptism of fire. I mean, you just don't, things don't just happen like that. You must suffer, you must sweat small.
Okay. In the 80s, you were in your 30s. Now, you're at the beginning of your 70s now. You're 71 in June. Now, what has it been like?
Up and down. Because sometimes I have to be Charlie Boy. Sometimes I am me, Mr. Charles Chukwuemeka Oputa. And all the time that I'm me, sometimes I wake up in the morning, there's one ankle ache, one wrist ache, one headache somewhere.
The body.
So the body is not adjusting to the commands that I'm giving.
But the engine here is still...
But the engine here and Charlie Boy, they seem all fresh.
They're in sync.
Youthful. Okay? And that is why when I leave the Charlie Boy brand, there's that thing that attracts young people, little kids, that lives in that brand that I don't want to lose. Because it is the brand's simplicity, openness, authenticity that also keeps him youthful.
Now, talking about the youth and being youthful, you have been seen as a huge father figure to the younger generation of Nigerians, at least in the last 3 to 4 decades. And to all intents and purposes, you seem to have influenced the flow of their thoughts.
The brand has crisscrossed generations.
But There is a problem in our society today, and it is drug abuse. East, west, north, south, everywhere. What can we do about it?
We just have to keep fighting it.
How?
The people who young people look up to, they need to start to talk about it in a more positive light. For me, like, you know, I'm open, I'm blunt, sometimes I'm wickedly blunt as Charlie Boy. You know, I smoke weed, but I will never advocate that for young people.
Yeah.
I can't, but I'm old enough to know what's good for me and what's not good for me.
Yeah.
So I do my thing. Okay? The drug issue is a scourge as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And that is why, like with my kids, I want to be in tune with them, that I know everything. I mean, they can come up, they can be as open as I was taught to be with me. And they look upon me as their friend. Okay? Because I've been down that route before.
You said as their friend. That means that you are improving on the perception of the relationship. Because at some point, you didn't see your dad as your friend.
No, every child, you go think say your papa na him wicked person, you know. But all the good things that we were taught when we were little, those are the things I've run back to. Those are the things that are helping me in my life, even though that it's not in sync with the environment. But I've had to fall back on the values of the morality, the integrity as handed down by my father. And thank God, I'm not so much in a bad place not to say, I'm not going to do this. Putters don't do that.
Yes.
I'm not going to do this. I'm going to be like this. Even if it kills me, yeah, I can afford to do that. And so that's who I have become. But you know, the difference between me and my father, because in the beginning, my father used to punish us. He whipped me tire. And he scared me from learning, because he would want us to be cramming things. Cram and come and recite for him. That's not learning. So we're not learning because we had fun learning. We're learning because we're afraid. If you don't get this thing, you say make you go cram. It go whip you. It wasn't till I got to America that I knew that even learning could be fun. And I never looked back since then.
Since then. I was going to say that, you know, you're a very brilliant man.
I don't know about being...
It's me talking now. You don't need to agree.
Okay. If you say so.
I mean, that's something that I needed to say so that I could put you a bit in a position that would be uncomfortable, because you don't like talking so much about what you have achieved.
I don't think I've achieved anything.
Oh, yes, you have.
It just maybe a little.
If you had it, for instance, there was a time you were the one who came out and quelled the uprising that Okada riders were about to embark upon in Lagos about 2-3 years ago. And at that time, you had even stopped riding publicly. That's an achievement. You were a voice, and still you are a voice that people listen to.
Yeah, I know that a lot of millions of youth have been inspired by my lifestyle, by my story. They've been inspired in such a way that they now understand that they can't give up on themselves or their dreams. And it doesn't matter whether it's your father, your uncle, don't let anybody run your life. Live your most authentic life. And I don't know how it sounds now. It may sound too analogish, but hard work does pay.
So, hard work pays. still on the youth. I don't hammer. I want hammer. That's all you hear. That motor winning they drive. That's what I covet. I claim it. How? What can we do?
Because the young people are looking at the elders. They are copying all these things from their elders. They are not living in isolation. Monkey see, monkey do. They are waiting how Papa live their life. Now then they copy so. How the people who, by God's grace, are in a position of leadership, how they messed up. They messed up our environment, they messed up the system. You can imagine the plight of young people. Government has failed them. Community has failed them. Parents have failed them. Where should they turn to? In our time, in your time, we had support system. If you are naughty, you're not in your neighborhood, and you're in some other neighborhood, and you do something naughty. In our time, somebody could see you and say, who you be? Who be your papa? After you don't ask that question, say, oh, no, they behave like this for this house. He go correct you, he go send you back, go meet your parents, say, this is what I found your kid doing. Everybody's eye was on the young people, the teachers, the community.
Yes.
Because for my time, when you don't finish like class 5, before you go to the university and you have a good result, before you come back to your house, many people don't call party for your head.
Yes.
It was a thing of pride for parents to say, my son is doing so well in school. It wasn't about the money.
But would you say there's also the part played by population explosion?
It's population explosion, wrong priorities, wrong values. You know, after the war, when we now started to adopt the system, my teeth better pass your teeth. Now there everything crash. Because a thief is a thief. There are consequences of stealing.
Yes.
So all thieves should be prosecuted the same way.
Same way, yes.
No be when your man there for position of power and he's a bloody thief. You say, no, it's okay. But when my own thief come now, it becomes a problem for you. Until we can solve that. It's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Your thief is better than my thief.
You're saying there must be equality in justice.
Precise now. Precise now. Do A as you take do B. The problem we're having in Nigeria today is because of the too many injustices everywhere. In the north, in the south, in the west, in the east. Injustice everywhere.
Let's evaluate the problem of insecurity in our country. There's so much call for breakup. North wants to go, East wants to go, West wants to go. Where are we going?
We're entering a big dark ditch. We don't know who is flying this plane. This contraption called Nigeria, where is it from? Is it our creation? Or is it the British creation? So, if you have leadership from the 19th century, it can't fit in the 21st century, can it? It can't work.
It can't, yes.
Yeah? If you have a building with a faulty foundation, with the foundation of the building, they not doing well. Then after it don't be like 2 stories, you want to put the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th on a faulty foundation? Will that house stand? My brother, it no go stand now.
Yeah.
So
what's the solution?
The solution, bring down this house. Start again. Because whether we like it or not, what is coming, what is about to happen to us is worse than what we've seen. already.
By bring down the house, are you saying
We start,
restructure?
it could be restructuring if we go agree. Because you see, this is a give and take situation. Husband and wife live together. They no go talk. When they come to the table, if they have differences, they talk it out.
Yeah.
They have equal respect for one another.
Yeah.
If na the husband just they do what you do, na me dey here, na me be Lord and Master, how the marriage go work now? That is it. Because before we used to have this regional system where we made contribution to the center.
Yeah.
Why monkey go to work babu dey chop? I don't understand. That is the injustices that I'm talking about. That is why Biafra people want to go their own. Oduduwa people want to go their own. Arawa people want to go their own. Because they can't stand these injustices. So until we come to the table to have that conversation sincerely and genuinely, I'm sorry, it's going to get worse. Then we now bring down the house. The house will fall, bata, bata. Then we can start from beginning and correct that faulty foundation that we failed to correct in the first instance.
That's your prescription.
That's my prescription.
Talking
And
about,
that's the only way I can see it working.
talking about prescription, have you taken your COVID-19 vaccination?
They were supposed to come. They were supposed to come to the house this morning. I don't know what happened. So I'm hoping that this week, they come to me.
Supposed to come?
Yes.
You're your father?
Yes, sir.
Ew.
I say father now.
But what would you say to people about the vaccine and being healthy?
Well, how much time remains for me now?
Not to talk like that. Not scare us now.
No, just being realistic. How much time remains now? If na poison be the vaccine, they give me that. Man must die. Something killed a man. Yeah, it can't be that bad. Prevention is better than cure. So I rather know that I've done everything to be safe. So whatever happens, happens. So it's a good thing. I think I like to encourage people to go out and have the vaccine. How bad could it be? Yeah.
Yes.
And still wear the face masks and practice good hygiene.
Good hygiene. Now, you don't like being reminded of your age. You love being the one to tell us that you are.
because age. What is age?
Now, I
Age
never
is
finished the
neither-
thing now.
sorry,
Make you
sorry.
hear me now. Which
Okay,
one?
Okay.
See, in regular society, everybody will be calling you senior citizen, elder statesman, and all that. All of those things don't resonate with you. How does it feel to be a grandfather?
I don't feel any different. I feel the same way I felt 30, 40 years ago.
But how
It's
do you
not a big
relate
deal.
with your grandchildren?
I have 16. Oh, like my relationship with my children, not like father and son. They're like two adults, two playful, spoiled kids. And that's the way I like it because my children tell me everything. You can't imagine, sometimes I'm dazed by what they're saying to me, but I try not to show it so they will always feel that they have a hip father, that I'm with the times, Because the kind things that they come out for their mouth, I say, okay, let me bond them anyway. And when I remember as I shaking my parents too, I would just laugh. I go calm down for Jesus because what goes around comes around.
It comes around. I wish your mom were alive.
No, my mom, I had a good time with my mom after my father left. It was 3 years, so all the love was showered on her. And my mom pulled the biggest trick. I don't think she knew that I would have loved to be with her as she passes along. But she waited till I traveled when I wasn't around and decided to leave. And for a few days, I didn't forgive her about that. I thought it was, that wasn't the plan. But yes, I had fun with my mother. I always joked about her vision. And that's why I call her a witch, because she was very futuristic in her thinking.
She was like a prophetess to you.
Precise.
So the kind witch where you say your mama carry, you never seen type before. Why?
Simple. She was very futuristic, forward thinking. She held my father. That woman held the house. My father was a player. But my mom tamed him. And tamed all of us, more or less.
But she was also very soft towards you.
Oh, yes. Because she was the first to see that boy in me. She used to call me from the very first day I did hear something. I could comprehend things. She used to always call me Charlie Boy. So that name, that's how that name came about. Because that was my pet name.
So the Charlie Boy actually came from her?
Yes. Yeah. That's why they call her witch. Yeah. And when people want to get into issues about how old are you, I say, I beg when I leave that thing. If my mama be witch, waiting it is, I have vampire blood now. What do I have to do with old age?
You had your first child at 17?
At 16.
16?
Yeah. I'm from Bele spoil now.
From Bele?
From Bele.
Tell me.
Now make, if to say all these funny pastors, they for that time, night vigil, them for the carry me go, deliverance. Yeah,
But your mom took care of your first child. What's your relationship with him now?
I didn't even agree that it was my child now. Now, when I come, things begin work out for me, that I became more mature, that I went back to look for him. But then, at that time, we were supposed to be in school, not going around and getting women pregnant.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
But your mom did not, she didn't give up on you.
No, just like I can't give up on my kids. You know, like I told you, children are like monkey see, monkey do. I've always seen my mom and my father together since I was born.
Yes.
Even when they have challenges and issues. Before I turn my head the other way, I see them stealing kisses, holding hands, you know.
And that's why you're still with your wife?
I guess, because I wanted to be better than what I saw. You understand?
Would you give yourself a pass mark now? Or would you grade yourself, looking at their sheet and your sheet?
Yes, I've tried. 45 years is no more now.
Yes.
Staying with somebody, no. The same smell, the same body, the same face, the same routine. I try. Over-try worry me.
Something to say to her?
She's my best friend. She knows that.
Look into the camera and tell her.
I don't have to be looking into the camera to tell her. She knows what she knows, and that's why we're all dying here. Nobody's going anywhere.
All right, we're about to round off this session of talk, but we won't go without talking about how to sustain older people in their old age. You're an old man now. What are your needs? What really are the needs of an older person?
You see, I'm always, like I say, I'm such an exceptionally blessed person. Only God fit understand. Okay? The kind blessing where I get, sometimes I don't think I deserve it. because it could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
You understand? But I think that I'm living my life on purpose because I'm doing really what God had always intended for me to do via people.
Yeah.
I love people. I don't like to see suffering, people in agony. So my heart is always going out for the underdogs. And I got that from my mom. My mom was generous to stupidity. And my father had a little bit of that. And I know that I'm not even supposed to be alive as I'm talking to you. No, because my youth was rough. I got into all kinds of things. Okay? Even drugs. But I healed myself because those were the American years.
Dark days.
Yeah. And I said to myself, this is not how I was brought up. So why are you doing this? I had to even go and see a shrink to figure out, to say something wrong with me or my, only to be told that what activated my misbehavior at the time was the racism I experienced one-on-one in America. At the time, I was with my baby mama. Her sister came to visit. So there were 2 white women. And here I was sandwiched between 2 white women. We were just taking a leisure walk downtown Boston. And then 7 white, excuse my language, white trash comes out of the Cadillac, all with a baseball bat, nigger this, nigger that, just because I was walking with 2 white chicks. One was the mother-to-be of my baby boy. Then beat me that day. I thought I was going to die. The only thing that saved me that day was the police. You know, as police just they go around everywhere and are crime now. So they thought that, the white women I was with had run up to call the police. That's how they let me on. That's how I was saved. And I ended spending almost 5 weeks in the hospital. I never forgot that experience. That was just barely 8 months staying in America. I never thought I had racism in my blood. But then my hatred was potent because I just couldn't figure it out. In our house in Port Harcourt, when my father was a lawyer, he was a legal attorney to Mobile and stuff like that. So we did see Igbo people, they come house. It was I didn't think that there were any, I look at them as equals, not as superior to me. Only to go to America, then they asked me where I sabi speak English, whether I live in trees and all that crap, and to call me a nigger. So it wasn't till I saw the shrink when I was now questioning my modus operandi in America. Why am I doing all the stuff that I'm doing? That is kind of alien, that came up.
Okay.
And that was how I was healed, and I said, I'm getting out of this country. I agree now, sir, old. No be lie you talk.
So what does
Charlie
an
boy
old man
can be
need?
old, now.
Yeah, now.
Me as Charles, but I agree. No be me they talk now. Sometimes I wake up, my knee is not in the right position. Either my neck don't bend, go one side. Little things like that. I'm more into myself, always checking my prostate, checking this, checking that, as a health freak.
What does a man need, an old person need to survive now?
An old person needs a lot of companionship.
Companionship?
If you have children that are good, that are like Charlie Boy, who took care of his parents, that will make, you'll just be, you age so gracefully.
Mm-hmm.
And because an old person needs to surround himself with family and a lot of love.
Okay.
It can bring sunshine to your life.
Good health?
Good health is a sequence of where you are financially. So if you're a little okay, I think that's a major investment that everybody should make in themselves to make sure all the things are working when they should.
So let me throw you this final one now. All right. Are you okay financially?
Am I okay? Financially. Is Dangote okay financially?
On that note, thank you very much for coming on the program. You didn't disappoint me at all. I was expecting something like that. Thank you so much, Charlie Boy, for coming on the show. That's how we greet now. Eh?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Nice having you. I hope to come back so we can talk again and look at deeper, other deep stuff.
Imagine that you're going to live for 100 years. The way you treat your body right now, would your liver and your kidney take you that far? Now, you must understand that the body is a biologic organism or a biologic machine, just like your generator and your machines, your car. How do you treat them? You can replace the parts, you take them for regular servicing. There is an input talking about your fuel, and there is an output talking about your combustion, your gas. That same way, the body thrives on an input, maintenance, and output system. The body, like every other biological machine, takes in organic matter because that's its source, comes from the earth, and then uses it for the production of many chemicals, hormones, and synthesis of cells and tissues, and then excretes it organic manure, and it gets back to the soil. How does this happen to maintain your health? You must take in organic-based meal. And that's why the closer your meal is to the earth, the better for you. The closer it is from the earth to you, the better such meals. When many foods stay a long distance before getting to you, it's not as good as when it just gets from ground to you. All right? Very importantly, that you reduce the intake of chemicals. You can't keep taking chemicals. The body doesn't understand it. It's not able to process it. And then for every time the body tries to process these chemicals, it experiences what we call breakdown, especially your excretory organs like your kidney and liver. This has been the cause of many liver damage and kidney damages. So when you take a lot of chemicals, one of them is pure chemicals, such as alcohol, such as spirits, such as tobacco, many of them cigarettes. When you take in these things, the body tries its best to absorb the exogenous substance and excrete them. And of course, you have free radicals running through your system. If you're not able to break them down, your tissues die slowly. All right. Other things are things like even polyprocessed meals. For example, roasted meat, what you call suya. That suya is not very fantastic for your health, especially for your liver. It's not so good. When you take in a lot of carbonated drinks, you further cause damage to your system. And more importantly is that you may not notice them between the ages of 0 to 35, 40. The moment you begin to get off that peak period where your energy, where your body is supposed to start going uphill, you will notice that you cannot go longer than normal, and then you begin to break down. All right. Very important that you take fruits, lots of fruits. And it's important that you're particular about your source of fruits. Many of the fruits nowadays are being synthesized. Many of them are done in the laboratories. Many of them have been changed, mutated. And so when I was little, I know that pineapples that I take used to be very bitter when it's green. Nowadays, the greener it is, the sweeter it is. So these cannot be very useful for the body. So the body cannot use it. The long and short of what I'm trying to say is that your body must use what it needs, not what it doesn't need. When you're taking drugs, if you can prevent the recurrent intakes of drugs, you need to do. Many of you who think that antibiotics is vitamin C, it's not. They're not the same. Take drugs when necessary. And in fact, it must be prescribed. You just go off the counter and take what you like and how you like it, what quantity. You need to take prescribed drugs. Many of us who do herbal drinks and concussions and all kinds of things, you further disintegrate your body system. You make your body confused because the dosages are not clear. One very important source that's given to us by nature is water. A high level of alkaline water is very good for you. A high level of sunlight. Don't be afraid of sunlight. For many of you who go from air conditioners to air conditioners to air conditioners, you need the sunlight to help you provide vitamin D, which carries calcium, makes it absorbed in the bones, and prevents things like osteoporosis, low back pain, arthritis. These are natural ways of preventing illnesses. So you're managing your health that way. You're taking a lot of water, you prevent urinary tract infection, you prevent dehydration, you prevent constipation, you take a lot of fibers from fruits, you prevent constipation, you improve your microorganisms in your system, then you will not fall sick easily. And of course, you do a lot of fruits, including vegetables that contains a lot of carotenes, vitamins B, B12, B6, A vitamins. Your eyes are very, very protected. And of course, you want to care for your prostate. Lastly, there are age-related diseases. For every age, you want to find out what are the diseases in that age, and you begin to treat them. For an example, a man who is clocking 45 years and above needs to check his prostate. Don't be surprised. Oh, he died of prostate cancer, and you're like, no. Check your prostates once you hit 45. For a lady, you cross reproductive age, you want to start checking for cervical cancer. Pap smear recurrently, yearly, will not do you bad. Of course, your BP should not be, you should know your BP of your last 1 week. Your blood sugar, you should know the last 1 month blood sugar. Don't be in a new, especially when you clock the age of 40. By then, your health is beginning to take an uphill task. Manage your health so that you can live as much as 100.
Hello and welcome. This is the Greater Lagos Vision and I'm your host, Lovikuku Oyedoku. Increased access to electricity is one of the priority mandates of the present administration in Lagos State. This is so given its drive towards achieving sustainable economic development. At the handover ceremony of the Lagos State Integrated Energy Resource Plan, IRP, which was done by the Lagos State Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources in collaboration with the United States of America through the USAID and Power Africa Nigeria Power Sector Program, PA-NPSP. Governor Sanwo-Olu re-echoed the need for Lagos to increase its electricity generation capacity. This, he said, will help develop small businesses and grow the GDP of the state and by extension, Nigeria. This is the Greater Lagos. Welcome once again. I'm Lovikuku Oyedoku. This episode features electricity bill. Sanwo-Olu urges House of Reps to allow states inputs. Infrastructure. Sanwo-Olu promises to build bigger ecosystem to make Lagos preferred tourism destination. A co-inspired me. Sanwo-Olu urges rescue street kids not to give up on their dreams. Details of this and many more when we return. Please don't touch the dial. The governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has called on the House of Representatives to allow state governments to have inputs into the 2022 electricity bill. Governor Sanwo-Olu stated this during the handover ceremony of the Lagos State Integrated Energy Resource Plan, IPR, by the head of Power Africa, Mark Karatu.
The Lagos State Integrated Resource Initiative is a 20-year partnership. The project being undertaken by the Lagos State Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources in collaboration with the United States of America through USAID and Power Africa Nigeria Power Sector Program. It is believed it would transform power deficiencies in Africa, which will allow states to generate their own electricity and develop at their own pace.
It's about the power of partnership. You know, that's how I see it. Will, and you started very, very well. 8 years ago, when your former president started this Power Africa initiative, which you were part of, way back then. It's something that we believe, if we all run it well, will certainly transform, the power deficiency in Africa. And the most critical thing is these are going to be implemented by Africans with some sort of like an African solution in different jurisdictions.
The Lagos State Chief Executive, however, calls on the Speaker of the House of Representatives to ensure that all issues on the electricity bill are resolved.
Want in that bill for the honorable members of the House of Rep to call the governors or to call the subnational, the state, so that we have proper input into this bill, so that we can, finally, unbundle all of the bottlenecks in the in the power sector, so that we and they can see what our challenges are, and we can sit down together and they can bring about, a bill that is bankable, a bill that will help, private sector funding and financing into this sector, and a bill in which everybody can move at their pace.
Olalere Odushote is the State Commissioner for Energy and Mineral Resources. He says the initiative involving the two electricity distribution companies in Lagos, Ikeja and Eco-Discos, will boost power supply.
From the advent of this administration, he has made it clear that electricity is a focus of his. And one of the ways we've identified towards achieving the electricity transformation of Lagos is to take Lagos State distribution away from the national grid. This IRP helps us document the infrastructure requirements and the gaps that exist. And it gives Lagos State a medium-term, a short-term, and a long-term strategy to achieving the power sector stability that we want.
The benefit of interrupted electricity to economic growth, trade, and investments cannot be overemphasized, but Nigeria is not there yet.
Electricity is the
basis for economic growth. It's the basis for trade. It's the basis for investment. And everyone who knows me knows I talk about trade and investment incessantly. Because I truly believe that the United States of America needs to be a partner with Nigeria as you are on the cusp of incredible growth. And this plan will power that growth, pun intended.
Yeah.
As Africa's preeminent mega city, it's vital that infrastructure progresses with adequate resources to effectively manage this change. Lagos is predicted to have a 270% increase in electricity demand by 2040. This remarkable growth is something that is predicated the Integrated Resource Plan and looks to increase the overall energy security for Lagos State through targeted investments in generation, transmission, and distribution over the next 20 years.
The electricity program is said to be a 20-year plan.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has promised to build infrastructure and a bigger ecosystem for Lagos to become the preferred tourism destination. The governor spoke when he received the delegation of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, UNWTO, led by its Secretary General, Zurab, at the Lagos House Marina. Sanwo-Olu said the ecosystem would create opportunities and employment for the teeming youth in the country.
It's all about job creation. It's all about giving opportunity for the youth, for the young population that have a future ahead of them. And that is a creative industry that we see as one of, the driving force. That's one of the things that brings about, that big ecosystem. Music in Nigeria, is big. It's Nigerian music are everywhere in the world, everywhere. As way far away in Australia, also in Alaska, and any part of the world that you can imagine. And that's the thing. And they're all coming back home in December to have shows. So we're happy. We're happy that UNWTO can see some of those modest, interventions here. And like you said, we want to also build a bigger ecosystem where tourism destination, once you are planning for the year, you say, okay, 2 or 3 occasions I want to come to Lagos for this event, for this event, for this event. And that's the kind of things we're also planning. It's naturally calendarized for the whole year. People can plan. Once our museum is open, because there's no big city in the world that you don't have a museum. So this is going to be Africa's biggest museum.
For his part, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, commended the governor's efforts and support in ensuring the revamping of the National Theatre.
Without your support, the National Theatre, which is the venue of this particular conference, would have been impossible. I remember about 2 years ago, Your Excellency, or 3 years ago, Your Excellency, when you called me and said there was a challenge, that you got an approval from Mr. President to redevelop the National Theatre with the assistance of the Bankers Committee. And we tried to smooth all the sharp angles. And you were for a very long time the bridge between the ministry and the Bankers Committee. But you went beyond that because you took it on yourself to reclaim a huge portion of the abandoned land in National Theatre.
The UNWTO delegation was in Nigeria for the Global Conference on Linking Tourism, Culture, and the Creative Industries.
We are very happy to be in this landmark place. And we have, as Honorable Minister mentioned, different kind of workshops all day, today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. And we want to support and to help local entrepreneurs, talent to export, to be internationalized, to give them support as financial as educational, which is very important. And again, this is happening first time here in Lagos in Nigeria. We're looking forward that Nigeria has a huge future in tourism. There are a lot of things to be explored, there are a lot of things to be done, and that's why, count on our full support. We can be the part of his big story or history. We are very happy to be here, and we are sure and we believe that the future of Nigeria in tourism and future of Nigeria is in youth, because Nigeria and African continent never had such big youth population like it's today.
Is the official commissioning of Love Garden apartments in Surulere, Lagos. The suspended twin three-story development sits on 2,719.30 meters square land belonging to the State Universal Basic Education Board, SUBEB. Governor Sanwo-Olu said the redevelopment of the abandoned land had not only provided accommodation for residents, but also has solved a major security threat in the area.
This place used to be a liability that we have turned into an asset. It used to be a massive school compound that was now run down and the students were moved somewhere else. And so this place was now taken over by all sort of people that were on questionable character. Yes, there were mechanics here, but there was also all sort of ills and all sort of criminal things that were also happening because it was being run down. And we had a conversation with SUBEB, who were the original owners, and it took no time for them to understand that we can convert the dead assets into a living asset. And I'm happy that SUBEB and LSDPC were able to collaborate very, very quickly, and you have seen the edifice that this place has been turned into. And some of you know that, like you've said, housing becomes one of the major challenges that we have in an urbanized city like Lagos. And government cannot do it all by itself. Government can't continue to create the enabling environment for private sector to come in, for private sector to collaborate with government, but more importantly, is for government to create that enabling environment where both the private sector and government can collaborate, and we can provide the needed housing for our people. We can reduce the housing stock need for our citizens, and we can hand them over.
Sanwo-Olu also said the provision of safe and comfortable housing schemes for the citizens remains a key objective of his government's programs. He said the state government remains committed to scaling up access to safe and convenient housing scheme while strengthening partnerships with private sector to meet sustainable development goals.
And so for us as a government is to continue to tick all of our boxes under our team's agenda. Housing provides that unique opportunity for us to reduce those stocks. But more importantly, it gives us the opportunity to ensure that all of our promises around meeting the sustainable development goals for 2030 is achievable and is realizable. And like I've said, before the end of the year, there are several other housing units that will also be handing over, to our citizens. And I want to say that indeed I'm happy that this project has been kept on budget, has been kept to price and on budget, and I want to thank the contractor for doing a very good job and for keeping with the tenants with the bill of quantity that was given to them for this development. It's sitting on less than 3,000 square meters, and I think the ambience speaks through, the proper utilization of what this facility is. You can see it has generator, and it has, a playground, it has ample parking space, it has a muster point, and it has everything that a small mini estate of this size do require.
Governor Sanwo-Olu charged beneficiaries to maintain the structure and encourage activities that would sustain the investments. Honorable Ayodeji Joseph is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Lagos State Development and Property Corporation, LSPDC. He speaks more on the project.
This land has come to be known as Love Garden. Love Garden apartment used to accommodate the nursing section of the government demonstration school before it became defunct. The bare land became a converging point for auto mechanics during the day, at night. It is against this backdrop that the corporation, under the leadership of the energetic governor, Mr. Sanwo-Olu, came up with the idea that has transformed this land, which was underutilized, and turned into an asset of inestimable value.
Lagos State Commissioner for Housing, Moruf Akindaru-Fatai, highlights on the focus in housing by the present administration led by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
The focus in housing since Mr. Governor came into office has been to build innovative and livable environment for both high net worth individuals and low-income earners. As we speak, over 15 schemes have been commissioned by Mr. Governor. And that cut across all areas in Lagos, all the Bile identified areas. We have scheme going on in Epe, we have in Badagry, we have in Ikorodu, and we have in Alimosho. As we speak, Mr. Governor will be commissioning the 660 units in Odo Nosa very soon. He will also be commissioning the Bagada scheme very soon. And we also have Egon, 270 phase 1. What I want to add, actually, while thanking Mr. Governor for giving us all the necessary support, we want to appreciate the fact that Lagosians are also seeing what Mr. Governor is doing. And we expect, by the grace of God, that this will be shown to us during election time.
Facilities in the mini scheme include a security section, water system, expensive car parking space, and electricity supply system.